And so when we're holding them accountable like that, and that's when we also able to obtain any violations. And then should we need to enforce, violations, then we're able to pursue that, so that way we can help these companies stay intact, stay in compliance. And then sustainable goals. I always like to say sustainable goals because through inspections, hopefully, and we always try to promote, these industries to possibly start moving over to eco-friendly equipment. So hopefully, once they start doing that, then maybe, just maybe, they'll start to think, well, if we move over to an eco-friendly site, maybe we won't get so many inspections here on our site. Maybe. But I always like to incorporate that here. And then emergency preparedness. Again, through inspections, we find violations, we find any risk, and we can prevent any type of emergencies from happening, such as spills or the emitting of any kind of toxins into the air. We can kind of prepare for that as well. And then again, should something happen, should an emergency happen, at least our office will be ready for it. At least we looked into it that far. At least we prepared. So that way, should something happen, we're not sitting there wondering or scrambling around, what do we do? What do we do? So that's why I feel, and I always try to stress on our community and our members and the regulated entities, why inspections are enforced, why inspections are important. That's why, I care about it. So since I've joined the air quality program, about a little over a year now, the staff and I have drafted up an inspection frequency. And through this frequency, we've listed out like permit types, the type of permits that are issued again, that as I mentioned, such as earth moving permits, non-Title V permits, burn permits, asbestos NESHAPs, we try to list those out. Facility types, the types of facilities that we have on the community. Pollutants of concerns that they may have, the potential for environmental impact, hours per inspection. So when I say hours per inspection, we took into account the time that it's going to take for us to, as we leave the office, go on to site, how many hours we're going to spend at the job site or at the facility, and then going back to the office. We just roughly calculated all that and put that in there. Inspection frequency. How many times are we going to inspect these facilities? How many times, do we need to go out and visit these job sites as they're building, the new buildings on the community? Number of facilities that we have on the community. Inspections per year, and then annual inspection hours. So again, this is just a rough draft that, we're currently working on. Every day, we're working at it. Every inspection that we're coming across, it gives us a better idea of what it's actually going to look like. But, again, this was just a draft that we put together, so it's just an inspection frequency. Inspection protocols. We have our pre-inspection, on-site inspection, post-inspection. For our pre-inspection, that all takes place at our office. Everything that we need to take care of before we go out to the site. So I like to sit down with, the staff. Should I need another inspector? I'll sit down with them. We'll obtain a copy of the permit. We'll go through that permit. We'll have to thoroughly go through that permit because again, it's our permitting engineers that put it together. So we want to make sure that we don't miss anything when we go out to the site. Records review. If there was a previous inspection that was held on it a year, 2 years, 3 years ago, we got to look back at those records because when we go onto the site, we want to see if the same thing is happening, if the records look the same or if they change, if, maybe the industry is just changing years, maybe they're changing certain numbers, but, we got to inspect that. We got to make sure that they're in compliance with it. So we thoroughly go through that. PPE tools we may need. So this all happens before we go out. And then of course we go out to the on-site inspection and that'll be in the next slide when I go into that. And then the post-inspection, again, when we get back to the office, we have to sit down, lay out all the records from previous year, and then the one that we just received, or the ones that we're going to receive. Sometimes Facilities don't always have the records on site. They'll send them a day or two later, or whenever the inspector requests for them. Maybe they give them till the end of the week, just depending on the type of records that they may have. So that's just kind of our inspection protocols, quick overview of it. Inspection checklists. This helps our staff and myself to look at what we need to, if we're going out for a dust inspection, again, through our earth moving permits, if we're going to do a gas station inspection, if we're looking at concrete batch plants, sand and aggregate mining, it's hard to keep track of, what we're looking for when we go to the site. So we drafted inspection checklists for this. This helps us to kind of follow and make sure that we're asking the questions or checking the equipment that we're supposed to be looking for. It's just, just generally guides us. And then again, if I bring another staff with me, it helps them as well to understand what we're looking for. And then sometimes when we do get to the site, we have the folks who, the managers or the general plan operators, sometimes they're very talkative and they'll try to divert the inspector from asking the question, asking what we're doing. Maybe they'll throw in like, oh, so did you catch that game this past weekend? Oh, man. It's like, whoa, yeah, the game was cool, but, let's stay on track here. But, so that's kind of what, where this also helps too, because I'll be looking down like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, so back to this record. Do you have that record? So that's where, we're also adding to our checklist as well. We're, things we're changing and stuff. So again, these are all drafts that we have. Okay, so conducting an air quality inspection. To me, I feel like this is the most important part of conducting an inspections. And the reason why I say that is when we get general contractors that come on to our community, a lot of the times, they're always in such a hurry to get their job done. Or maybe they come on and they're like 2 or 3 months behind. So they may not have a whole lot of time to set aside for an inspection. And so, sometimes that I come on, it's, I get that right away, that feeling like, oh man, the inspector's here. I don't want to do this. And so building that relationship with them, when I first meet them, I try to be respectful as possible, because I want to build that relationship with them. Should the community bring them back on for another project, and then I come across that individual and say, hey, we worked together before. I'm here to conduct an inspection. Let's keep this relationship going, because again, there are times when contractors, they're in such a rush that they don't want to be inspected. Nobody wants to be inspected. So I always find that, building that relationship with that individual is most important. And then the second thing is communication. Always try to communicate clearly to them. And an example that I'd like to use is, if I were to say, can we turn on the air? Some folks may understand that as, does he mean the fans, or does he mean the ACs? So we want to be clear on communication. That's the most important thing, because if I'm saying one thing, contractors, folks at facilities may understand it another way. So we want to be clear on that. We want to be clear on communication. So I always found that that part of the inspection most importantly is when we arrive on site. And then just letting them know that, if there's any other protocol or safety issues that we need to look out as we go around the facilities, or if we need to do a little safety meeting with them first, get clearance from them first. So we always establish that. And I always find that the most important part. So I just wanted to share that. So conducting an air quality inspection. So again, this is our a dust inspection, as I like to call it, our earth moving. And then these are just some general items that we look for when we get on site. The first one that I always pay attention to is the signs. Through the permit, it's always listed that any type of development on the community, they've got to have a sign up. And it also falls, I believe, for the surrounding communities, Maricopa County. That's always a big requirement there for earth moving. They got to have that sign up. And the reason being is if a new development is going up near community homes, and work is being conducted, they leave for the weekend, and it gets windy, all that dust is going to be blowing toward where the homes are. And if they want to put a complaint, can always go and look for the signs there. And that's why we tell them it's important. It's a requirement. They got to have signs up. We got to know who to contact. And then we look for primary controls. Again, this is all coming off the permit. We got to look for, how are they taking care of dust, making sure that dust is not being rised up and blowing them. Then we look for track out onto the road, and then we look for the haul roads. We look at the roads there. Are those stabilized? Are they spraying water down? Are they keeping the dust down? And so there's much more that go into it, but these are just kind of the big ones that I took out, generally what we look for in dust permits or dust inspections. When we're conducting non-Title V facilities, industrial sites, commercials, gas stations, again, we're looking for if there's an opacity test that needs to be conducted for the industrial. We look for operations and maintenance plans, any kind of records for these industrial sites. We look at their equipment, any type of maintenance being done to their equipment. We ask for all these and make sure, this is where a lot of the records comes in. You just have to really pay attention to it. And sometimes they don't have the records when we're there. So again, that falls on our inspectors, and it's, okay, we'll give you till tomorrow, we'll give you till the end of the week. And then we have to go into that thorough inspection of comparing any records inspections from the previous years or previous 3 years. So that's kind of, the things that we do with that. Gas stations, hotels, casinos. When we look at gas stations, we're looking at the vapors. For gas station staff, employees working there, sometimes they have a high turnover on their staff. So when we show up, they don't have a clue of what's going on. And I had a gentleman who approached me and say, this is a gas station. Why do we need an air quality permit? I said, well, you got vapors that may be coming up from the underground storage tank, sir. And so we show them, and then we got to look at like the gaskets, where the valves are, make sure those are good and all the equipment that goes with that. And then if there's any type of generators located on site, we got to look at the generators. What kind of generators? Any kind of records, any kind of maintenance being done to them. Again, this all falls back on records. So that's how we're able to determine, compliance. And then again, like I said, everything is all built in to the air quality permit, and that falls back on our permitting engineers. The other ones is complaints. Again, we do get a lot, not a lot of complaints, but we get a lot of development happening on the community. And so sometimes, again, things happen. Somebody forgets to lay out water. It gets really windy, or they lay out water maybe just one time a day, and it gets pretty hot around the Phoenix area, and so that's going to dry up pretty quick. So we'll get a complaint. We'll have to respond, go out, and then I got to look back at who's responsible, who holds the permit, who's all responsible, and get in touch with them. And sometimes that's it's real easy to work with it, again, with the contractors, if we have that good relationship with them. If not, then that's one that I'll have to actually stay at the site and wait until they actually bring a water truck out, just so I know that they get that done. Sometimes we get burning going on the community. Sometimes folks are not always burning just weeds. Maybe sometimes they'll try to throw trash, maybe any other hazardous waste. And so if that happens, then we'll have to respond to that as well. Make sure that they're not releasing any hazardous pollutants into the air. Again, so the purpose of our enforcement, an informal enforcement, when I'm on the job site, after we're going through the inspection, if there's any, I don't want to say violations, but nothing too major, such as, let's say they had a sign up at the very front and it got really windy, the sign blew over, and when I show up on site and I see it laying down, I'm not going to issue, anything huge. And so what we do is we call it an opportunity to correct. So we'll give an opportunity to correct. If you can get that sign up, And, by the, before the end of the inspections, you can call it good, make sure that you're okay that way. Notice of violations will get issued. And then if we have to pursue formal, if it's something a little major than an OTC, and then I'll move back with my supervisor and our higher ups. And then penalties, we'll have to issue penalties. And then again, that just kind of depends on what the penalty is, what the violation is. And then we also referring back to our permits. If it's anything pressing, then of course we're going to have to issue penalties right away on that. So that's where the enforcement side comes in. If it gets to me, and if it's anything that I can't handle, then we go up to our higher ups. And then from there is when the bigger violations and then penalties will come into play on that. So the challenge is right now that my office faces, or at least in our compliance and enforcement, is our data system. And Maricopa County and Pinal County use a data system with they call it IMPACT for short, which is the inventory, monitoring, permitting, and compliance tracker. They call it IMPACT for short. So this works for the counties really, really well. They use that all the time, and their inspectors are able to go out on site, jump online, and conduct their inspections through a tablet, and then submit, and it'll generate the report for them right away, right there on the spot. But however, when we're on our community, sometimes the signal is not so great, so it doesn't work as quick for us. And then some of the things, some of the rules that we have on our community, maybe it's not built into this system. So we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. But however, we're trying to make it work so that way it falls in line a little bit with the nearby counties. So we're also trying to get it to work for the tribal side. So we want to keep following that. So if we have maybe questions or any challenges, we try to continue working with the counties as well. But most importantly, we want to make it work for us. We want to make it fit, for our tribal community. So that's one of the biggest challenges, that we're working with today and then moving forward. So hopefully, years from now, we can get it to where it works just as well for us, maybe to where we get out on our community and then we can just do everything through a tablet, through IMPACT. So on our community outreach, our offices hold an Earth Day celebration. And, just through the pictures here, we've been having a bigger turnout every year. Every year we've been getting more folks come out, present. And then, but most importantly, we have the community that comes out. We get a lot of the community that comes together. They know Earth Day. And so at times like that is when we try to educate our community members and inform them what our offices are doing. And most importantly, if it does get dusty and there is a nearby site, that they can reach out to us, that there is someone looking out for the air quality. We always try to inform our community that way, and then keep them updated on what we're doing, because we're working for our community. We're looking to take care of you is what we always try to stress, educating them that way. So not only just through our Earth Day, but, our offices do reach out to our service centers. When our service centers have public meetings, we always try to go out and do a little presentation there as well, inform them again what we're doing on our monitoring side and then on our compliance and enforcement side. So that's how our community, and then every day we're adding to our outreach, our outreach specialist, Mr. Tyson Gill, he works with our office as well. He's always working on something new for us to help us educate our community. And that's the end of my presentation. But ladies and gentlemen and folks online, just real quickly, I just wanted to share with you with the theme that we have for the conference here, tribal ecological knowledge. And so I want to share with you at this time, the purpose that I got into environmental science. Growing up on the Navajo reservation, it was always stressed to me about taking care of our environment, whether it's the air, whether it's the water, the land, the soils. But it was shared with me that if you took upon it as yourself to take care of it one way or another, then you became a part of this sacred tribal warrior society. A warrior society that takes care of the environment, whether you know it or not. And I know each and every one of us in here, we do care about the environment. So I want to let you know that you've become a part of that society. You are a part of that society. Taking care of the land, so that way the next generation behind us, they're able to continue moving forward, the way that those before us have taken care of it for us. So we come from a long line of, sacred warriors that way. That's the way it was shared with me in my cultural society. And I'm just going to share a little bit with you about that. And I just thought, that's the first thing I thought about when I heard of tech. So I just shared that with you here real quick. And then thank you again for allowing me to share my presentation. Thank you.
Any questions?
This is Tyson Gill from Gila River. I just wanted to share too, he mentioned outreach. As far as outreach goes with air quality, it is a big thing on Gila River. The one thing that we kind of run into though is there's some other programs in our community that do similar things as far as like when you think of, we have a water quality department, but we don't oversee drinking water. That's a whole nother department. So it's a lot of education with just telling the community what we actually do. Same with trash. We have a recycling education, and then we have like hazardous waste. But people all the time, almost every day, call and ask us, when are you going to come pick up our trash? So it's a lot of simple things that sometimes community members that we have just don't recognize as stuff that we do. But I think what Dwight said too is when we do have community outreach, or if we go to events, we try to let them know that we are regulatory. We are different than, like a normal department. We're actually out there finding people. We don't say that, but we're out there making sure that everyone's following the rules, because if they don't follow the rules, then we're not doing our jobs. So I just wanted to say that.
Thanks so much for the presentation. Just out of curiosity, when when you do an inspection or many inspections, what's a rough estimate for the numbers that are sort of totally compliant versus requiring some kind of more formal correction action?
With that one, so when we have the construction companies that come onto site, and let's say their project, through their permit, their project is going to last maybe 2 to 3 years. We'll have to plan out, possibly like 6 inspections through that time. So if we show up the first day when they're just getting their equipment there, when they're ready, barely setting up things, we'll conduct an inspection, but it'll be open. And then again, like if we see anything that they can take care of within that day, we'll issue an OTC. So obviously, we're not going to get that, that many or any type of heavy records inspection, because they're just setting up. Or maybe they don't have any. Maybe they're brand new to the community. So at least, we'll do the first inspection that way. Maybe a month or two, we'll go back and conduct another inspection, just to see how far along they've gotten, and then just to see what kind of work, maybe how much dirt they're digging out. So yeah, it's with our dust inspections, it's kind of hard to implement, any type of heavy violations, through that. So it's roughly with our dust inspection, it's hard versus like our stationary, like a gas station. So if we look at a gas station and we go back on our records, maybe 3 years, 4 years ago, and maybe they had a couple of violations, and it's still the same way, then that's when we'll have to issue an actual, heavy penalty on them, because we're looking back those years. So it kind of varies. It's kind of hard to answer just that one question, such as dust permits versus our non-Title V inspections. So I don't know if that answers your questions or not, sir. Oh, okay.
I had a quick question. Excellent presentation, Dwight. I'm Theodore Putz, Auction Indian Community. And question is, when you do inspections, do you have a portable monitoring system that you can track data as you do an inspection?
The only one that I think or can think of on site that I carry with me is through our work cell phones. It's a software that's able to kind of lay out a quick layout of the area, and then if I need to conduct an opacity reading emissions test, it will determine for me how far back I'm standing from where that actual facility is, or if I'm not able to be on the actual site, maybe let's say I'm outside the grounds, and so I need to set up my cameras, and just through that software I'm able to track like how far. That's the only thing I can think of that I carry with me on site.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for the presentation. I'm Dwayne James. I'm with the EPA, not in enforcement, so just want to make that clear.
Okay. Yeah. Nobody likes inspections.
Although you did do that in a prior life. Quick question. Two questions really. Curious. What's the largest administrative penalty you've ever collected, and how often or how many referrals have you made to EPA for enforcement?
Okay. Since I've joined the air quality, which has been just a little over a year now, so I haven't been with air quality very long. Since I've been with the department, we haven't had to issue any heavy penalties, but I do have my manager on site. I don't know, maybe there's something before I came on. If you want
to. So the question was, what's the largest penalty? I think in recent memory, we had a multi-day violation that added up maybe 6,000 or 7,000. Probably not the largest one for the department. I think that rests over in the pesticide program, but they're generally less than 10,000. I've been there 10 years. We've sent some stuff to EPA, mostly with respect to asbestos, and that just kind of goes into a black hole. But we haven't really had a need to really refer things to EPA at this point. It's there if we need to. We do escalate to compliance orders. That seems to get most people in gear once they get that compliance order. So I'd say for every 5 to 6 NOVs that get issued, we probably have to escalate one to a compliance order. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yep.
Yeah, that's some good information. My name is Daniel Dosla. I'm with the San Carlos Apache Tribe. I was going to ask you about your service stations. What are your inspections? Are they annually, or is there a complaint? And your staffing, like you said, there's a turnover. Are you looking at, with the record keeping, are you looking at their certifications to what they need to do with the pumps?
Yeah, so with the service stations, That one, we're still kind of bouncing it off of whether, we want to do them annually or every 3 years with that one. So yeah, when I showed our inspection frequency, it was a rough draft. So we're still, trying to get that buckled down on there. And then again, like when I showed up to a couple of our gas stations, when I talked to the staff, they would tell me like, I just started like 3 months ago. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to expect. The last person didn't say anything to me, and they'll be like digging around in their office, and it's like, he said, I'm going to be honest, I don't know what I'm looking for. So I tell him, okay, just get with the manager, have him give me a call. And then when we talk, that's when I let him know what's going on. And then this is what I'm looking for. If you can shoot it over to me by the end of the day or by the end of the week, that'd be perfect. But it's always, it seems like they go through a high turnover staff. So that, that's just something that's out of our hands. So yeah, it's kind of hit or miss on that one.
I actually have a question in terms of, is your program, financially funded by your permit program, that everything goes into the permit fees collected and it funds the compliance, or is there other revenue stream that support that model? I'm just curious.
Ooh, I think I'll have to refer that one over to.
The money guy. Yeah, that's a great question. And I would say that the answer is it does not completely fund the program. Most of our program is funded through 105 grant. The compliance, Dwight's position, actually in the future, will probably be funded by the community. The revenue stream for non-Title V permits is pretty low. And in order to sort of make that work out on paper, you really have to have a lot of sources. So like Maricopa County might have 4,000 or 5,000 sources that they're maybe not quite that many, but and it makes more sense to them because they can assign. I'd say we probably would have to have, I think an annual permit fee is probably averages around $1,500. So you'd probably have to have about 80 facilities that you regulate to kind of support one person. So it's not close with only 40 facilities.
Any final questions with that? Can we just give Dwight a round of applause? Thank you.
Thank you.